Just when you thought the dress code could not get any looser, we present a Bruce Lee ripoff with no shirt and no shoes. Here to talk about Quick Kick, it's Steve, Paul, and Rob. Yes, this is episode 332 of GI Joburg, and we're talking Quick Kick. Why are we talking Quick Kick? Who suggested this one?
Oh my goodness, I know it wasn't. I've suggested the last 12 of these things, so I was like, oh, break. One of you guys think? Yeah, we've done at least 12.
It was me. I suggested Quick Kick. Yeah, the actual conscious decision was made because I think I'm just seeing so much of the classified version around, and I'm constantly being tempted to get myself one. And it just got me thinking a lot about Quick Kick and the character and the toy. And I know that Rob was very excited to get his recently, and then it got me thinking of when I got mine, and this was very subconscious now. It got me thinking of I got my Quick Kick in the States, and what is even more important about that, did I get him in the States? I know he was my travel buddy in the States. That much I can remember. Sorry, my memory's a bit fuzzy with that for some reason. But
I feel like you got him just before we went to the States. That's
yes,
kind of where my brain is coming at this from.
But here's the crazy thing, right? Because as of recording, Facebook reminded me of a memory from 6 years ago of us.
Remember getting Quick Kick?
At the beginning of our road trip. When we were going on our way up to Tennessee. So so it's kind of weird how that kind of worked out, that we're recording this now. And then if we were way back then this weekend would have been JoeCon.
Crazy, wild
madness. So
absolutely.
Maybe there's some kind of
So Quick Kick hails to us from Series 4 of G.I. Joe, 1985. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Let's read his file card.
Yeah.
Boom.
You don't need none of that stuff. He's
MacArthur S. Ito. His primary
Mac.
military specialty is infantry. His secondary military specialty is intelligence. He was born in Los Angeles, California. Subject's Japanese father and Korean mother owned a grocery store in Watts. Not accepted by either the Japanese or Koreans because of his mixed ancestry, and too short to play basketball, Quick Kick turned to martial arts. All martial arts. He's a ranking black belt in Taekwondo, Goju Ryu, Southern Praying Mantis Kung Fu, Tai Chi sword, Zen sword, and Wing Chun. He was working as a stuntman in Hollywood when he was recruited for the G.I. Joe team. This next bit really gets me, and we'll get back to it. He's a qualified expert in all NATO and Warsaw Pact small arms. Whoa! That's a lot of guns, and yet he doesn't come with any. And then we've got a quote at the bottom. Here's the situation. You want to gain access to a fortified villa, 12-foot tall continuous wall topped with razor spiral and only one gate through it. 2-inch steel plate on the gate, 2 sandbagged guardhouses with direct telephone link to the main house, 4 guards with submachine guns, 2 Dobermans, and a silent alarm hooked to a dead man switch that one of the guards is leaning on at all times. How to do it? Have Quick Kick hit it. That's how.
Oh.
Thank you, 3D Joes, for the excellent scan of the file card. Oh, I neglected to mention his grade is E4, which is not bad considering he was recruited from civilian life. And quickly fast-tracked into G.I. Joe. Amazing. Gents, what have we got to say about his file card?
I'm curious, do his friends call him Ito or do his friends call him Mac?
His first name would be MacArthur.
Yeah. But, that's the thing. So, what do you think his nickname is? Do you think his nickname is Mac or Max? It's interesting. I wonder what the Joes call him.
I think the answer comes in the cartoon series. In the episode Captives of Cobra, where he visits his parents' grocery store, and a little old biddy behind him says, "Hey, Mac, how are you doing?" Something like that.
That's right. Yes.
Well, there you go. And he's Californian. That's kind of cool. You know,
Very
he grown
cool.
up right there near Hollywood. He kind of just like fell into it. But I mean, it's actually is incredible. I mean, that he knows that he is a qualified expert on all those guns, and he has E4. Because I mean, he picked that stuff up real quick because he was, poached by the GI Joe team, and I suppose they kind of like fast tracked his, his qualifications to kind of get him up to speed. With like being a Joe.
Look, I don't
Paul's
know
going to
what
say something controversial.
Whoa!
I don't know what is required for a weapons like expert qualification. I suppose you got to be able to strip it, clean it, do all the things necessary to keep the gun in good working order, but also how to shoot it with accuracy. But if you are a stunt guy and you're working prolifically, you're probably working quite closely with an on-set armorer, and armorers like to have an exotic selection of guns. So would have American guns plus Russian guns. So maybe he got his start there. That's potentially why he's got such a varied knowledge of firearms.
So the cool thing, okay, so this is where I'm going to jump in. It's somewhat controversial and then not so controversial. So the first, let me start with the controversial thing. If it's a case of did he fit into the military by being military fit, being, healthy, fit, and military built and all that stuff very quickly, the answer to that is in his martial arts training, because just Goju Ryu, Goju Ryu, I know that they have quite a tough training process, because Goju Ryu is also its ancestry is in Okinawa as well, but but the kung fu side of it, the Southern Praying Mantis, just for the record, this is why it's going to get controversial, because different schools teach this differently. But if it's similar to my school, you will be broken quite badly first before you learn something like that. Not because it's so dangerous and you can kill a man, but it's because your body has to have a certain fortitude, a certain amount of conditioning before you can do things like praying mantis, whatever, because you need to be able to hold low stances for a long time, which means your body has to be very built. And I think the physical requirement of the military,
in the case of quick kick, buddy, you've seen his
no, totally. I mean, he's jacked, right? But he's also jacked like how Bruce Lee was, that lithe, wiry kung fu kind of build, that strong fitness, that strong, quick movement, explosive kind of build. And so I think that's why his physicality translated very well into the military, because the way that you get taught kung fu is very similar to a militaristic system, in that you follow orders, you do what you're told, you don't do what you're not told to do, that kind of stuff. So I think that's the one thing that made his whole entry very easily. And then I want to quote a film that I recently watched called Queen Pins, where the characters have to they go and buy a bunch of firearms, the main characters, and they're buying them from a gun show. And the salesman's pitches, a John Wick movie is the best gun commercial ever, kind of thing. and then it's true, because also Keanu Reeves, the way he embodied John Wick, he did a lot of stuff with handling firearms and all that kind of stuff that looks very good on screen. And in fact, there's two things that are in the John Wick film that have now been sort of adopted into gun culture. And those stuntmen who worked with John Wick, with Keanu Reeves on John Wick, they pushed him, and he became hella proficient with that with those firearms, to the point where he was doing training courses and setting records in training courses and gun ranges and stuff like that.
I think I saw that TikTok video too.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
but it is kind of
I'd like to posit a thesis, and I think probably going to become true within seconds, that Quick Kick, by being as proficient as he is in those martial arts forms, all of them, and having expert level qualification on so many weapons, elevates him into like superhero territory. Like this is GI Joe's first foray into like superheroics, because just like a kind of a Batman character who's mastered everything and then like says, I ain't gonna touch guns. Like this guy, he could pick up a hog and be in the infantry squad, but he chooses not to and just use, close quarters weapons because he's that good. Like he is superheroic in much the same way as, you wouldn't see Iron Fist or Shang-Chi pick up a gun. Yeah. His martial arts is so strong, it's all he needs. But things are slightly different in his Action Force file card.
Dun dun dun.
Ever so slightly.
Ever so slightly. I think it's quite different, isn't it?
Oh,
well, maybe not quite different. But
he
different
has
enough.
been renamed to Lee Ho. His surname has remained the same though. Ito.
So he's Taiwanese now.
Cantonese.
No, I'm not being a dick. I'm saying, but Lee Ho sounds like a very Taiwanese name, not more so than Cantonese name. But carry on. What would I know?
He still has a Japanese father and a Korean mother, but they're now in Hong Kong.
Yeah, he grew up in Canton in China. So the whole situation is basically identical, except he's in China. And after his parents pass away, he then decides to go from there to Hollywood to become a stuntman, and from there his story is essentially the same as it is in Raw.
Though they've added one crucial piece of information, I think, that while he was working as a Hollywood stuntman, he became a regular instructor for the U.S. Army, presumably in martial arts or physical training. Like he was, probably putting recruits through their paces, and from there it was a really short leap into the arms of Action Force, and then they kind of put him in the European theater of operations, which we will read about later on in this episode. But yeah, like I personally favor resetting him as someone who grew up in China, because it makes him very much more useful as an intelligence operative. Like if you want to pass for local in Red China, you can't be coming from LA unless you can somehow wings that accent and speak Mandarin or Cantonese in his case. Which is why
when Cantonese wouldn't endear him to the people of China much either. But let's not go there.
Well, look, if he did grow up in Hong Kong, possibly he would speak both. Possibly. And that's why I kind of reset him to being Chinese when we used him for play motions like Bad Luck Lady. Production there. I just thought he was far more useful as an intelligence operative if he was actually a stuntman working in Hong Kong as opposed to a stuntman working in LA. That would form his cover. Hong Kong chop socky movies, plenty of those. Work visas, etc., all kind of would form part of his day-to-day
standards.
And it's times like that, especially in Bad Luck Lady, when you did kind of like rejigger him, kind of put him in that place, the same like Action Force did, where it kind of feels more appropriate that GI Joe would be an international, strike anti-terrorist force, because then you can take advantage of these operatives that are located in the different countries and make it easier for you to acclimatize, actually operate in those places with local knowledge.
I'd say Quick Kick is very much the poster boy of like GI Joe's like Asian operations theater. I mean, if you wanted to put together a totally international GI Joe force, you'd have like Spirit and Stalker and Quick Kick, like all the ethnic diversity, and fortunately, like that's something that
Australian dude
was really leaned into by being sort of a more global, varied group.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, I started reading them, and I was like, oh, okay, so in this version, Flint is he's British. Okay, him and Lady J. Flint is the leader of Action Force, along with Lady J, and they have a bunch of British agents that work with him. And then this one issue where they kind of get visited by, it's our American counterparts. Oh, thank you for visiting us, Scarlet and Snake Eyes, who are definitely still American. Or Scarlet is.
Very much so.
But we're going to talk about the cartoon series first, because chronologically, Quick Kick gets his introduction in 1985. in
The
September of that
cartoons
month.
grabbed him first.
Rolls
Interesting.
and
There he
fudgy.
dropped the ball.
Yeah, it was the 5-part miniseries, Pyramid of Darkness.
Darkness. And guys, I know that we are on the talk cartoons. It's just one little thing. There's something about a Quick Kicks file card that sounds a lot like this man on screen, Bruce Lee.
Oh,
Bruce Lee was also American Chinese. I don't know if you guys know that, and also did not fit in with people in his hometown, and also caused a lot of trouble and got into trouble with the gangs and things like that, and had to be shipped off to the States, where he did. I mean, many of you guys know Bruce Lee's history if you're a Bruce Lee fan, but he did also get into the film industry and do fight choreography and all that kind of good stuff.
Fantastic movies. What a guy. I think
Fantastic films. Yeah. Fist of Fury, by the way, is amazing. And that's the poster I have on screen.
I think so.
But I just wanted to draw a parallel between Bruce Lee and Quick Kick. It may seem obvious, but the file card definitely pulls from Bruce Lee's kind of the story. Okay, cool. Pyramids of Darkness. So Quick Kick is in the Arctic, shooting a commercial for frozen fudgy bars, because apparently the company that's shooting this ad has the best budget in the world ever that they can go to the Arctic to shoot this thing. But it's subsequently sort of dropped by his crew, and we are officially introduced, at least in my opinion, to Quick Kick when he throws a nunchuck to sea lions that are about to devour our good friends Alpine and Bazooka.
This really is a cartoon story.
It really is a cartoon story. I'm just surprised the killer whale didn't come out and take out all 4 of them, but what do I know? And then we get this amazing shot of Quick Kick on the top of the glacier, and he's just looks all heroic. He's got no shirt. It's balls cold there, but he's barefoot, whatever's. And he's talking smack. He's all like, yeah, I'm here, I'm gonna do my thing. And then he locks horns with old Storm Shadow, which is pretty cool that they get to have a little bit of a battle. And I gotta say, Storm Shadow, I think the writing on this was a little bit hokey, but Storm Shadow seems to brush off pretty much everything that Quick Kick throws at him, but somehow he does actually lose the battle because they do one of those typical ninja kind of standoffs. I think the guys, I would love to check if Ninja Gaiden, the game, was out by this point. But that said, the whole ninja jumping in the air with the landing in one of them.
1985? Nah.
Yeah.
No ways.
Yeah, it was too early for NES. I think Ninja Gaiden is 87. Anyway. But this is very much a trope in sort of the culture of shinobi and ninja film and whatever's, where you have them jumping in the air, they cross swords or whatever's, and then when they both land, one of them inevitably drops. Which they mirrored in this.
Getting out of having to choreograph a fight, actually.
It definitely is, but it was designed as a stylistic thing, and it's a very cool stylistic thing. Because as you see, it worked very well in Ninja Gaiden. The first time I ever saw it was in Ninja Gaiden, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. But it's a great trope, because you'll see it in a lot of anime as well. So yeah, that's how we meet Quick Kick in the Arctic, shooting frozen fudgy commercials. But he also appears. He also appears in another episode. There's actually quite a few episodes that he appears in. But I don't want to go into depth with all of them. But the one I definitely think is worth mentioning is what is it called? Lasers in the Night.
Lasers in the night.
Missed opportunity, man. I mean, for those of you new to the cartoon series, all 3 of you, Quick Kick loves using Hollywood quotes.
Yes.
Bogart is a big favorite. I don't know who else. John Wayne. But yeah, he should have done some Sinatra.
Should have actually. That would have been great for this.
I love how, in a lot of ways, Quick Kick is kind of the inverse of an anime fan. You know, like anime fans and things, we get all excited, and I say we because I'm a big anime fanboy. We will you'll quote anime and you will quote like things from video games and whatever's right, and like it's all Japanese culture stuff. But here you have Quick Kick, who is Asian by descent, an Asian, okay, and he loves to quote a lot of American stuff. So he's kind of an American fanboy, American movie fanboy, which is
I think
pretty
he
rad.
absolutely is. I mean, even more so in the Action Force version, where he was drawn from China all the way to America to take part to become a stuntman in Hollywood. I think he's definitely a huge fan of like classic Hollywood movies.
You know what's also special about his origin being in Canton in the UK in the Action Force file card?
Mm-hmm.
Canton is kind of the birthplace of, well, I would say modern Kung Fu, as in like Wing Chun, Wing Chun, and all that kind of stuff. Because Foshan, that's in Canton, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, a lot of my master's master is from Canton. So yeah. So it's actually quite well known for Kung Fu, for martial arts, Chinese martial arts. But yeah, like Quick Kick meets this really interesting girl, lady, while he's doing a demonstration. And when he meets her the first time, he kind of throws her on her ass. And then she retaliates and she gets him on his ass. And it's just love at first sight between these two characters. And for the life of me, you can't remember her name right now, but
Amber.
This very interesting blonde-haired woman that is just a total go-getter. To me, almost in some ways, like a more convincing Scarlet than Scarlet is. And then she also infiltrates Cobra, and proves that she's actually kind of a badass, you know. And and
at the end, Duke's like, "You want a job with GI Joe?" She's like, "Nah." Wow.
No, I'm gonna go into film where the real money is, or something. I don't know what she actually says. I'm just being ridiculous. And then also a great moment.
I'm gonna go do girly thing because I'm a girl and it's the 1980s. Yeah, no,
that's what I'm supposed to do.
It's a bit of a slap in the face. I mean, after being so proficient on her own, no less.
She's just too good, you know. She didn't want to have to be in that, you know, structure of authority. She just
in terms of giving Quick Kick like character beats in this, I mean, we get to see him at the ball game, we get to see him at the opera, or was it the ballet? We get to see him having a romance. Like a good deal of this episode deals with Quick Kick's personal relationships with this girl, and the fact that he lets her in too close and she becomes a perceived security threat for GI Joe because she winds up breaking into the GI Joe HQ just to show that she can. And and so I mean, Quick Kick kind of gets a slap on the wrist for like, and has to kind of admonish her himself. So once again, great character beats from him, only enhanced further by the fact that we get to meet his family in Captives of Cobra, mom and dad. In Watts, California, no less. Like, clearly Christy Marks, who wrote the episodes, had the file card to hand.
For sure read the file card.
Absolutely influenced the writing process.
So it's a thing, man. It's like, also a thing about like Quick Kick that I really dig is that
he's a good boy. Sorry, I'm just going to jump in then.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
His leave time, he entirely spends working in the family grocery store.
Yeah, but I mean, Steve, like, I mean, I think with respect, if you think about it, now, I mean, you would probably know this very well now, but Asian kids have it hard, man. Like, I know, like, I can't speak for everybody here, but I know a lot of my like Asian friends and stuff growing up during school holidays. They were basically told to study and then help at the stores that their parents owned.
That's how I met my wife. She was she was on leave, or not leave, like she was on vacation time from her degree. Came back home, and where did she have to work? Her parents' restaurant.
See, exactly. It's not a stereotype. It is a cultural thing. It's just one of those things. But in Captives of Cobra, and I think we're going to refer to Captives of Cobra quite a bit as we go through these kind of deep dive episodes, because we get some like file card inverted commas information on screen, which is always interesting. So codename Quick Kick, real name MacArthur S. Ito, and then we get the surviving relatives, and this is from a stolen data disk that Storm Shadow managed to retrieve for Cobra. And it is quite cool. And then they would use these cuts to go into meeting the individual Joe's families, and that's where we get to meet Quick Kick's family there, and them, working in their store and whatever. It reminds me a lot of that TV show. Can't think of the name right now, but Quick Kick has got quite a lot of screen time, and I feel like it would be unfair to forget about this episode. It's called Cobra Quake. Once again, Quick Kick gets to encounter Storm Shadow, but
he's got a shirt on this time.
Not really. He's got his backpack, which is quite cool because that's the included accessory with the figure, which was nice to have them show that on screen. And also, the Storm Shadow that he's fighting isn't actually the real Storm Shadow. It's one of many, like Storm Shadow sort of clones, should I say. And on screen now, you'll see there's a bridge crossing. This is all set in Japan, so you'll see a bunch of Storm Shadows crossing this bridge. And I just feel like this is just a missed opportunity. I mean, these guys could have started a music group. They could have called themselves Pajamarama. It's like, here we go.
They should have done it. Why didn't they?
But quite badass of Quick Kick to best most of them. I mean, he kind of saves the day. He saves Bazooka from this ninjistic assault, and it was a fun episode. It was a cool kind of fish out of water thing, and it's going to bring me to a quick fire on this one. Yes, Quick Kick is one of. I feel like Quick Kick is one of those characters that just buddies up really nicely with other GI Joe characters. So I want to hear from you, gents. Who do you like buddying Quick Kick up with? Like, who's a cool mission operative, like a wingman for Quick Kick on a mission, or who is he a good wingman for?
It's got to be Bazooka. Let me explain myself. Look, the cartoon paired Bazooka with Alpine, but I don't like playing Bazooka as a dunce. I think he needs a physical assist more than a. I think he's intelligent, but he's kind of a blunt instrument, and Quick Kick has the physical finesse to counter him well. If you put Quick Kick with Alpine, they're just two like wisecracky, like sharp as a whip kind of guys. The banter would be good. But like, you want to pair Quick Kicks with someone that's kind of a diametrically opposite guy. Like, I get from Bazooka that he's perhaps a little bit like less well-traveled, less worldly. Whereas Quick Kick is just this man of mystery. This kind of what do you call him, Paul? Like a nomadic warrior,
a globetrotter. And he's gone on his warrior's journey.
Man. Yeah. He's got a little backpack on his back, and off he goes into the world. Whereas Bazooka's kind of, quite focused, sheltered military man, loves his football.
I've been to Florida once. It was wild.
I've stolen your thunder.
What was I gonna say? Bazooka is a good one, and I like your point that it's nice to kind of pair him up with someone who's has the same skills in him. I mean, I would have said Snake Eyes, I think, just because I'd want him to kind of be with someone who has the same skills. They can kind of like pair off against each other, but then he would have no one to talk to. But then I suppose he might actually just be happy with that. He could kind of just like keep rattling off quotes from movies and just keep talking, filling up the silence that Snake Eyes will always leave. That could actually be quite funny as well. Him or Roadblock. Roadblock could be quite nice as well. Kind of like not the dumb guy, but more kind of like a grounded guy. He's more about the guns. I
think they're also both quite street, like in a lot of ways.
Supposed to a degree, yeah. And Paul, who do you put him with? It's a Jinx.
No, it's like for me, I like mixing him with somebody who is also diametrically opposite him. Like
It just makes sense, actually. I mean, I never properly thought about it, but I mean, Stephen makes a really good point, actually. How did you guys think about this?
Maybe.
So
Well, it's an obvious choice, but like, yeah, Bazooka is anything but fleet of foot. I mean, even if you do play him as like not a dunce, he's not
like a big
this
rugby
nimble
player.
life martial artist. So that makes them interesting counterpoints
Bazooka,
for each other.
What I like about Bazooka is that he's kind of like, if you have Bazooka and Quick Kick together, it's kind of like having Jack from Big Trouble in Little China, like that kind of character, like Kurt Russell's character.
A cool dynamic.
Yeah, so like you know, he's not into this like woo woo like Asian magic sorcery shit. He's just like he's just like I'm here. I'm gonna go save the girls, you know, and get back in my truck and go drive off. And you know, you got Quick Kick, who's actually got like a lot of skill, and they balance off each other. And there's gonna be somebody who's too big for Quick Kick to fight. Weight difference is a thing, and so it's good to have somebody like Bazooka who is willing to, for example, pull out a grenade launcher to solve a problem. And again, this is not because Bazooka is not smart or anything. It's just because Bazooka is culturally quite beige, and it's interesting for us as viewers to get that to go through Bazooka's journey as he adds more to his character through like a character like Quick Kick and
quite beige. I'm sure Bazooka plays both kinds of music, country and western. Let's flip over to his Marvel.
Love Billy Joel, bro.
Yeah, man. Quick Kick makes his first appearance in issue 45, In Search of Candy, right at the end, where Hawk very sneakily sends a clandestine mission onto Cobra Island that's off the books because Ripcord has bailed out over Cobra Island, and oh dear, well, if the insertion team happen to take some pictures, well, that's fine. So Quick Kick and Alpine are the newbies on the team, joining Flint and Spirit. They get to have a little bit more fun in issue 46, where you see them actually doing the intelligence work of the mission, taking the pictures, etc. Screen grab from that too. Yeah, it seems that Quick Kick is the guy with the camera. So add that to his list of specialties. I guess working in film, maybe he became a bit of a shutterbug.
He does it all.
Ta-da! Shooting pictures of pterodromes and night ravens. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a dick and balls.
There you go. Things get more interesting in terms of just setting him up and his role on the team in the invasion of Springfield, where in issue 49, aka entitled Serpentor, Quick Kick is elected to be on the insertion team. Like, there are two C-130s full of GI Joe personnel, but there's also a Tomahawk that's going in early, led by Stalker, and it's called the Assault Team, and they go in to cut off power, communications, and water. So quite a lot of like sort of preemptive work needs to be done by these guys. And the reason they got this job is because, in Stalker's words, they're the fastest, the sneakiest, and fight the dirtiest. So in that,
and Scarlet is amongst them.
Scarlet is amongst them. So Quick Kick holds company with Snake Eyes, with Spirit, with Beachhead, with Leatherneck, with Recondo, and Torpedo. Torpedo dressed in his kind of land duties uniform. He's barely recognizable.
Completely unrecognizable.
But yeah, Quick Kick does a good job taking out sort of Cobra cops silently. Really gets shine in his silent weapons descriptor. And that's cool to know that at least in 1986, he was regarded as like one of the sneakiest, dirtiest fighting, most proficient like infiltration experts on the team. Makes sense too.
Yeah,
if you don't find any role for him, that's the role.
It takes advantage of his intelligence, kind of like specialty as well. That often is associated. I mean, you look at Scarlet as kind of like being sneakier. I think intelligence is kind of like a stand-in for like sneakiness or stealth or kind of like black missions, black ops missions sort of things. Which that's kind of how I've always thought of intelligence, more than just like, oh, we're gathering intel, It's kind of like this code word.
Issue 52, he's on the cover.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Making snap decisions, is he?
He's making snap decisions. Yes, indeed. Snap decisions
What
is
does
the
the
name
cover
of the
look like
issue,
for this?
and the cover at
It
least
looks so
gives you the
good.
impression that it's a showdown between Storm Shadow and Quick Kick. It
Oh, I
only
can't
took a
wait to
year
read that.
for the comic book to catch up to the cartoon series in that regard.
Whoa, exciting stuff.
But the fight is over pretty quickly.
Whoa.
Why? What happens?
What happens, Paul? Do you know?
I don't. Is this? Wait. I don't want to spoil it. Like, I don't want to go and say it, and when you can like say it better than I can. But is this?
Well-
this one ends up being one of those kind of. One of them realizes what they're up against, kind of situation. Is that this fight?
I'd like to think so. So Storm Shadow has infiltrated the pit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And he kind of like he accidentally falls out of a grate, and he's like, "Whoa, you're not supposed to see me. Let's pick up fight." And then I don't know, Scarlet's like, "Stay out of this. Let Quick Kick deal with it." And then they start fighting.
Of course, it's a war of words. I mean, Quick Kick talks some smack and then lays into Storm Shadow. But Storm Shadow, I mean, the upshot of what Storm Shadow's saying is that, like, you are very good. You're a very proficient martial artist, but I have a killer's heart. So I have the capacity to go to a place that you cannot, but being a hero.
Cannot reach.
Oh, whack. I mean, it's over in like 4 panels. Storm Shadow lays him out. And Paul, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Is this just a moment where Larry can show exactly how badass Storm Shadow is?
Because yeah,
Storytelling device-wise, yes, it is. But guys, okay, from a martial arts point of view, I'm sorry if this sounds sissy or whatever. This is not meant to devalue it. It's actually meant to just value your life. When you get into a fight, make sure you can win. Okay? Like, I know that's a very arrogant thing to say, but if you actually break it down, it's basically reminding you that you shouldn't get into a fight because you won't know you're going to win unless you're actually picking on somebody.
I read a bit of Sun Tzu once upon a time, and absolutely, that's part of the philosophy. Like,
yeah,
you have the option to retreat, to gather your forces and come back when you feel you're able to win.
That, and if you guys have ever, and this is for the listeners as well, if you guys have ever been in the presence of a very skilled martial artist, more often than not, you will never know because they keep a very like chilled vibe to them. In my case, for example, both my sifu, they just very good at blending into the crowd. People don't know, like when parents and things come and whatever, they're like, "Who's sifu?" And you'll sort of look around you for like when there's an event or something, and you're looking for him. And he's just somewhere chill, just talking to somebody else, to like a parent or something. He's not standing around going, "I'm the master of this place." But when he's in front of you and you are doing demonstrations, there is a feeling that you get inside of yourself, and it's very difficult to explain unless you guys have actually experienced it. So I'm going to do my best. But you know you're in trouble. It's the same feeling you get if you encounter an angry dog. And you know that the dog's going to bite you, or that the possibility of the dog biting you is there. It's that feeling. It's not necessarily just fear. It's kind of like, wow, I'm in trouble. And I think Storm Shadow exudes that. I think he kind of makes that known. And Quick Kick is ballsy, man.
He just ignores that feeling and he still goes for it anyway. And Storm Shadow has to remind him, like, whoa.
Yeah, I think Storm Shadow is actually speaking to us.
I give you
readers.
the Quick Kick.
I think Storm Shadow is actually speaking to us, the readers, because I think after that first movement, I think Quick Kick kind of realizes, okay, that first instinct he had to run, that was the right one. Yeah. Because Storm Shadow is actually being kind. He's not killing me. He could
There
have.
are some instances that you can't run from, unfortunately.
Then you fight.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the 90s, Quick Kick found himself in probably the most tragic of all circumstances. Maybe you want to tell us about that one.
A very, very sad circumstance. So eventually, Quick Kick does come back. He comes around back within Ara in issue 109, Death in the Desert, which is unfortunately his last appearance. For very good reasons. He, spoilers, dies by the end of the issue. So
Trauma.
to set up issue 109, if you have not read it, Tomix and Zammart have captured several Joes, including, among others, Duke, Lieutenant Falcon, Cross Country, and Quick Kick. And a misunderstanding by Tomix and Zammart of Cobra Commander's order to take care of the Joes ends up with a very sadistic Saw Viper murdering Doc. And he ends up spraying the rest of the unarmed Joes. But those still alive do manage to escape. And we get a very cool moment very emotional moment of Quick Kick kind of taking revenge against the Vipers as they're kind of like climbing out of the pit where they've been held. And he actually ends up mowing down a bunch of Vipers using a gun. Presumably, I think it's Saw Viper's saw, I believe.
Yep.
To kind of just like get back at these guys after just murdering Doc and several other G.I. Joes. It's probably one of the most standout like moments emotionally of the entire issue. But unfortunately, their escape is very short-lived because the Saw takes the orders given to him by Tomix and Zammart exceptionally seriously. And he continues to chase these Joes down until eventually he blows up the stolen Rage that the Joes have been driving. And yeah, by the end of the issue, unfortunately, we are left with just Duke, Falcon, and Cross Country being alive after the Saw Viper really does earn his pay.
It's madness.
It's very much the emotional center point of the issue, I find, when after wiping out the Cobra forces single-handedly, I mean, it's Quick Kick who mows them down, he loses it. Just breaks down weeping about the fact that they killed Doc.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, he's not the only one crying by the end of the issue, but I mean, yeah, it's powerful. It's especially when you go essentially 109 issues with I mean,
very few deaths. In fact, no Joe deaths, apart from I suppose General Flag, if you want to count that.
Yeah, but very, very early on, before the kind of the series kind of realized what it wanted to be, or what Hasbro and Larry kind of wanted it to be in general.
Two questions, though, that I mean, for the class and definitely for the comments section. First, how does Quick Kick's death make you feel? I mean, it's probably overshadowed by the fact that the team's pacifist, Doc, was also in that KIA. And then secondly, why Quick Kick? Why was he scheduled for termination? I mean, of course, in the events of the issue, it's quite arbitrary who made it and who didn't. But, I mean, obviously the writer had an intent behind removing certain characters. So we'll try and get inside Larry's head. Why was Quick Kick decided upon?
Okay, I want to answer the first question like this. And in the context of the comic book, this is when I think Larry Hama is an incredible writer, because these characters die in the comic book, and it's when I say it's unceremonious in the comic book, when Quick Kick mows down a Viper, you've got a whole panel dedicated to this Viper's body flailing in the air with like roar and kind of sound effect, and it's kind of a ceremonial thing if you think about it. Like it's making a big moment of that Viper's death. It's kind of an action movie thing. But when the Joes die, it's kind of a boom, and they're gone. And when you realize they're gone, he doesn't play it up or nothing. He makes it very cold, and that's exactly how I felt when I read that. I felt that complete disbelief and that kind of cold, unceremonious death, and I love that he did that because I think that's Larry's way of. Sorry to refer to Larry as like my best buddy. That's Larry Hama's way of trying to put across how horrible war is and how horrible conflict is. Is that death is not heroic or anything; it just happens like that in a snap. So that's how I felt with that. To answer why quick kick, man, there are so many things. I think one part of me feels like maybe quick kick was too much of a facsimile of Bruce Lee, and maybe like it was a case of like, you know, Bruce Lee. I think Bruce Lee had recently passed. I think Bruce Lee died in '88. Was it? I think it was.
No, he died in the 70s, mate.
Did he die in the 70s? I thought he died in the 80s. Oh, my bad. I'm cucked with dates. Yes, that's right. He did die in the 80s.
To the rescue.
Yeah,
Before
sorry.
people in the comments have us for breakfast.
Like pinned, yeah. No, but okay, but still, the sentiment is there. I think when Quick Kick was conceived and all that stuff, it was like in a kind of, you know, to cash in on the excitement and hype that was Bruce Lee and all that. And then I think later on, it might have been considered a bit insensitive. I think that could have been one reason, maybe not the only reason. Maybe
July
and
1973. In case anyone's
okay.
wondering. Yeah.
Maybe another side of it is maybe just understanding how Larry Hama is, even by today's standards, with certain things. Maybe he felt some things about the character were culturally insensitive. Maybe.
No,
I don't know.
Come on.
You don't think
If
it's that?
anything, Larry made him a bit of a darling by writing such a compelling file card. Because perhaps Larry, you know, being Asian American, was witness to kind of like ethnic
You
tribalism.
could relate to that.
Like,
Yeah.
you might be Asian American, but you're not part of the Korean club or the Japanese club. Like if you were both, where do you fall? You fall in between.
Yeah, the character feels more like an homage, I think, to that kind of upbringing and to Bruce Lee himself more than he is kind of like a caricature.
Okay. Listen,
Well, at least
I'm
that's
down
kind
with
of how
that
I've
too.
always put it. Yeah.
Cynically,
But I think
I
think it's meaningless. I think there's no meaning to why he was chosen. I think Larry Hama just chose a bunch of Joes. He was like, they got to die, and he was, as I think as Paul was saying, it's getting across the meaninglessness of death in war. Because I mean, like throughout the issue, you are kind of cutting back to some sort of conflict in space, and when you cut back, suddenly the rage has been exploded. You pull out 3 people who are kind of like coming out of the explosion. And it's cross country just going, it's just us. No one else made it. You don't get to see the close-ups of them dying, which, as Paul said, it does contrast, you know, quite a bit with, you know, that kind of like almost third of a page panel of you know, Quick Kick kind of mowing down the Vipers, you know, kind of where you can kind of see him taking them down, killing them, while our characters are kind of just gone. And I think it definitely does bring across the meaninglessness of death in war. It just happens like that. It's gone. So I don't think there was any reason why he chose him. He just chose a bunch of Joes. He was like, let's kill these guys, because it could literally be anyone. It can't be you know, Falcon or Duke. They're kind of like main characters. But I can kill anyone else I like, really. Let's just do it. And put it in there.
Well, cynically, he had asked Hasbro, like, "Are these guys getting updated figures?"
Oh, I'm sure. Of
back,
course, you know. Well, he had a list. He's like, what Joes aren't getting figures in the next couple of years? Who, you know, because
And
I mean, you'd hope
this thing called Ninja Force was coming. And
yeah,
I mean,
which
maybe
is
the inquiry
tough,
went along
because
the
you would
lines
have
of
thought
like,
that Quick
is
Kick would go
Quick
into the
Kick a
Ninja
member
Force.
of Ninja Force?
And then Hasbro's like, oops, we actually forgot he existed. Oops. We just invented these 3 new characters.
Gone.
We just invented, you know, 3-4 new characters to put in Ninja Force. We completely forgot that we created, you know, Bruce Lee as a GI Joe.
Well, and I mean, by that same token, I'm surprised Budo didn't get axed, but
that is very surprising.
Was to get another version. He was going to get one in 1995. But
absolutely.
Which brings me to like another like point of view on that. Maybe the characters that Larry Hama killed in that were all characters that had swagger. So like, you know, Doc might not have been like the most played with figure, but Doc was quite a personality. but he's not always on away missions and things like that. So killing Doc makes an impression because, oh my word, this character has like personality and swagger. A Quick Kick had that as well, So maybe that was also maybe that was part of the decision.
Well, maybe it's kind of like characters who maybe made an impression on him previously, and he was like, if I kill these guys, it will
and then a
kind of
bunch
mean
of
something.
beige characters like Crazy Legs, Heavy Metal, Crankface, guys who were just kind of like never really going to get
Sold, don't have to worry about
with,
those
or should be sold with vehicles.
All right, guys. Fortunately, if you are jonesing for more Quick Kick stuff and you feel like you've read it all,
there is more.
There is more.
There is more. Thankfully, he came into Action Force. So his first appearance was in Rigged, part 2 of Rigged, where he kind of like hang glides in, and he's there to free the imprisoned. I was going to say Joes, but I guess I have to say Action Force operatives, led by Flint, who were captured in part 1 of Rigged. But that isn't his standout story. Actually, probably his best and biggest story would be the story after that, called Cold Comfort.
So good.
Which is absolutely incredible. I didn't want to ruin the story, so I kind of just summarized it. It's literally the next story. So he's introduced in the previous issue or the previous part. And he's trying to save his best friend. He's kind of gone rogue. The setup of the story, he's gone rogue. He's trying to save his best friend, who he...
From the stunt world.
From the stunt world. So this is someone that he spent many years with in the stunt world. And he's trying to save his best friend from joining a cult, which turns out to be Cobra or some form of Cobra. And the story, although short, as most of these stories are, has really good twists and turns and gives you a really cool insight into Quick Kick. Whereas like the American version of Quick Kick, I think is often associated with Hollywood quotes. His internal monologue throughout the entire issue is him kind of like thinking back to his father, whether derisively or actually taking the advice seriously, remembering all the sort of different types of like, almost, like Asian, advice, that you get kind of like, oh, do this, do that, the sort of like wisdom advice that you kind of get. And it's a fantastic issue. And it's one of those moments like by the end of the issue, like, oh, he said the title, so yeah, they actually do incorporate. I don't know why I love that, but they do incorporate him saying by the end of the issue, it's a cold comfort.
Well, it feels like it fits, like it wasn't shoehorned in there. It feels like it fits the dialogue that was happening preceding to that.
And it's
thank you to the Baron for the excellent scans of the issue.
Absolutely incredible.
Jonesing for these stories. There's no
I love
better
the Action Force art. Sorry.
Yeah, the Action Force art, the writing. I think just because they're in their own theater and they've kind of created their own versions of these characters, they kind of can do what they want with them, which works fantastically well in this issue. But in the final part of the story is in the same issue 17 of Action Force Weekly, which then it's not even actually about him, unfortunately. It kind of it's very weird. So the follow-up story to this is much shorter, and it's more of like a soft pilot for another character that they want to introduce into I suppose Action Force Weekly or whatever comics they are doing. And it's called Meditations in Red, which kind of sets us up for a very weird or very direct connection, because I think up to now, often I think we've thought GI Joe, even though yes, it is printed by Marvel, but it's very much in their own version of the Marvel universe. They aren't really necessarily superheroes or anything else like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this issue in Action Force Weekly, written in the British Marvel, very much draws a direct connection between where GI or Action Force is and Marvel itself, because in this little story they actually reveal that Shang-Chi's master, who taught him everything. I mean, Shang-Chi's master. I spoiled it. Quick Kick's master is actually Shang-Chi, the master of Kung Fu, an exceptionally well-known character within Marvel itself. He's been around since the 70s. His father is Fu Manchu, an evil immortal doctor, who he's fought against for forever and ever. And they're kind of basically just retelling Shang-Chi's origin story, but through the eyes of his student, Quick Kick, who has also met, apparently, Iron Fist, another well-known Marvel character, Elektra.
I had forgotten that.
And Batroc, who's another martial artist, usually I think a villain.
God, Batroc.
Who fights against... Well, it's funny, but he is, he is meant to be, a very proficient French martial artist. Yes, he's the Batroc the Leaper. There we go. It's very funny, most of the time. So this is the other story that he is featured in Action Force, is where it's basically a soft pilot for the introduction of the new ongoing Shang-Chi stories by British Marvel. But it has huge implications, because now suddenly immortality exists in the GI Joe universe. Iron Fist exists, which means by extension all of these martial arts guys exist. And then further than that, that means that magic actually does exist within this printed form of G.I. Joe, as well as all the superheroes that exist in the Marvel Universe. So they're very firmly placed. This version, Action Force is very firmly then within the Marvel Universe, I think. It's kind of weird, I think. It's kind of like a very strange way.
It is a bit weird. Structured in the UK, you'd have backup stories that were oftentimes like Zoids or Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In this case, the backup story was going to start being Shang-Chi. So the handover from an Action Force stalwart of Quick Kick to then having this new guy, it was a no-brainer. It always is.
Yeah, but it's fascinating, though, that they've used a character with an Action Force, Like, here's this, here's Quick Kick, and he's introducing Shang-Chi, who is an original Marvel character. And I thought that was very interesting. This toy-based character is introducing, a well-known, well-established, at least in America, sort of kung fu character. So I thought that was very weird. So you guys don't have to read that one unless you want to, keep reading the rest of Shang-Chi's adventures in Britain. But definitely Cold Comfort. It's short. It's a quick read, but it's a fantastic read, and it'll give you a nice little taste of what could have been if Quick Kick.
If you have
died.
the floppies, it will be issues 14, 15, 16, and 17 of Action Force Weekly.
Go do it, or
and by floppies like actual newsprint, like they
real ones. I've seen them.
Yeah,
I've seen them. They're fantastic.
I got a whole bunch of them from Jim
like
Godfrey in a care package, and I was delighted. They're amazing. Guys, did you know that Quick Kick starred in his very own video game?
Wow, I actually did. I did not know that. I thought I knew all of the G.I. Joe video games. I even played.
I feel like there's a catch coming.
Snake Eyes game on my phone once as well, and that was not official in any way. It was
Ikari Warriors.
No, look, I'm the design language of Quick Kick is something I want to get onto, because in the 80s, shirtless guys with bandanas wielding weapons.
That was a thing.
The norm. Yeah, Ikari Warriors. We obviously had Rambo, the Contra Boys.
Yeah.
Guys,
actually, Bruce Lee.
Anecdote maybe, but when I first started playing Sega at my friend Alice's house, he had the Rambo cartridge.
The Rambo
game. After seeing Rambo video game, I'd never seen the movies, obviously, but after seeing the video game, I was like, I want a G.I. Joe to personify Rambo. Who did I settle on? Bloody Skymate. Because he had a bow and arrow. Skymate has
I'm Rambo.
Bow and arrow. He has
war as hell
coming with Rambo's look. Let me just tell you that if I had Quick Kick to hand, he would have been my Rambo. But unfortunately, he was no longer available in shops. I had seen him back in the day when I was super, super young, but I didn't really want a shirtless, shoeless guy.
That is incredible. I don't remember seeing Quick Kick in shops.
I was one shop in particular, the Pick and Pay hypermarket in Constantia Village. They had the 1985-86 guys. It was the only one in Cape Town that I recall. That's where I got... That's where I didn't get Dr. Mindbender, because I was like, this guy's stupid too. I don't want to see nipples. But Quick Kick himself got a video game.
That is
across the pond. Once again, the Brits really embraced him, because for the ZX Spectrum,
there was
Action Force 2. Not Action Force, the one where you control the Ore Striker. Or was it you control the Dragonfly trying to protect the Ore Striker? Similar games.
It's this game.
In Action Force 2, you do not control Quick Kick. Quick Kick is sort of AI controlled, computer controlled character that makes his way up various ladders and platforms. You control a crosshairs. We're told that you're airborne. No, not airborne. Airtight aboard a dragonfly. And Airtight is responsible for gunning down enemies and just basically protecting Quick Kick on his ascent up
Airtight.
the building. Airtight,
What?
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
fascinating. These guys did not read
Like,
the
what is he killing them with? Like, with the perfume? Like,
Yes, 3 different guns:
Oh.
a rocket launcher, a bioweapon, and a machine gun. Whatever. So eventually, you guide Quick Kick to the top of the buildings, where he frees some POWs, and you rescue them in what looks like the desert attack chopper or night attack chopper from the 2000s.
Oh my
But of course,
goodness,
this is
it really
1988.
does.
So it's remarkable to me. And it has the same kind of rocket pods on the side, the same kind of like really organic looking design.
Well, now we know where the inspiration for that chopper actually came from this
Probably.
game. Someone played this game and they were inspired.
But it's a delight to know that this game even exists. I mean, up until doing the research for this pod, I didn't know of its existence.
yeah, well, I'm today years
Insane.
old. Yeah, so
I wouldn't be surprised if
Absolute
most
madness.
people are today years old. And it ran on
Gee.
cassettes. 2
produced by Gang of Five.
Gang of 5, yeah, exactly. Interesting.
This is absolutely wild. And what a random selection of characters to feature in this game. It's
You'd
Quick
say
Kick
that.
and Airtight.
But Quick Kick and Airtight were part of that 85 group that really were endeared by the Action Force comic book.
Okay,
So,
so it was like
must
big
be what
warmers
it
or
is.
anything.
And I think
So
that's all I have
it
to say about that. Does anyone have anything they want to say about the actual plastic before we...
Yes, I got lots that I want to say about the plastic, but I
my
can say it very
goodness.
quickly.
Hold them back,
Okay.
guys.
So, this little guy is so great because he has amazing muscle definition for an action figure of his size. You know, like
Yeah, like
a
you
lo-
would think a guy who's topless, there would be very little detailing on the figure, but he actually is. Yeah, he looks buff. He looks good.
he's got a lot. Yeah, like so what he loses, what they totally make up for for his lack of like a shirt and grenade belts and all that stuff by just giving him a cool like bandolier style sash
Great
with
definition.
some shuriken with some like ninja stars in there. He's got 1 or 2 little patches on his belt. He is
And a
wonderful.
razor-sharp nipple.
And the one razor sharp nipple. Yeah, you can cut glass with that. I also love that the figure
I'm kidding.
also
His nipple is tastefully sculpted, not erect.
you'll see for those of you that are watching the YouTube video, you'll check that mine's got a black toe, which also makes it quite accurate because
Frostbite.
for some reason they just keep putting him. Yes, they keep putting this character in the snow, whether it be comic books or the cartoon. So he's eventually going to get some black toe. So at least my version of him is accurate in that respect. The
They
only
gave him
thing I
little
want to
booties in Cold Comfort. I'm pleased to see.
yes,
I made a note
Oh.
of like when he gets out of the snowcat, the stricken snowcat, he is wearing like martial arts slippers.
Yeah.
He gets rid of them eventually, but he's got them.
So I imagine that a lot of people, and that's something I want to say about this toy quickly, because I do want to quickly mention something about the 25th anniversary or the 5th or the Pursuit of Cobra version. But I think a lot of people may have had an issue with the fact that he was barefoot. And I think a lot more people had an issue with that after they'd seen Die Hard, because just also again, like even though I train, I would prefer to have shoes on. In my school, we train with shoes on. Yeah, because that's exactly it. Like
glass.
Not
like,
how they
I-
used to
I
do it in
respect-
China and the rest of Asia.
well, I respect
very
Japan
accurate.
for doing the whole barefoot training thing and whatever's, but yeah, in Kung Fu we train with shoes on. Even the monks train with like socky type shoe things on, which I just don't know the name of. Sorry, guys. So tell me in the comments. But
Slippers.
I think that's kind of a bummer for him. My only gripe with this toy, and it's cool in that it's not a fixed feature on the toy itself. I don't like that his sword is a katana. because
Whoa.
I don't love that, because in the file card they speak about Tai Chi sword, and they talk about Zen sword. Now Zen sword I can't really comment on, but Tai Chi sword, that is probably like a Jin, like a Chinese straight sword. Oh, not probably. It is definitely a Chinese straight sword, and that is a very masterful weapon. And I would have loved it had he come with that. But I imagine because the katana was a very well-known, and today is still a very well-known sword, especially amongst like toy people, thanks to the Turtles and the 80s. Everybody knows a katana, and I think that's why he was shipped with one. But it's literally the only thing that I don't think. I don't think that he has that piece of gear.
I think kids of the 80s, thanks to the popularity of ninja films, wanted only katanas. If he came with something that was like a Chinese straight sword with double edge, they'd be like, why has he got this like King Arthur sword? What's with that?
Makes no sense, because we had no cultural knowledge of it, unfortunately.
No.
Which I can totally understand, because it took David explaining that to me when the weapons trees that came with the Ninja Force had one or two weapons that were like that. And David explained, no, those are actually, these are mostly Chinese weapons that are on those weapon trees. Fun fact, by the way, for most of you out there, like 80% of the weapon on those ninja trees are Chinese. Anyway, coming back to the quick kick figure, the modern era gave us a fairly decent 25th anniversary quick kick. I say fairly decent. He wasn't single carded. He came with the Pyramid of Darkness DVD set that came with a really great Snake Eyes and Major Blood, and then also another Cobra Commander, who actually had a good hood, to be fair.
But not Alpine. Boo.
But yeah, ironically, okay, I know that a lot of guys, that's what bugged me as well. Having a flat hand as a permanent feature on this quick kick wasn't so cool. I actually don't have this figure in my collection. The one I do have, and I love
thanks
this
to General's Joe's, by the way, for the lovely image.
Also, thank you, General's Joe's. It's Justin Bell, right?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
But I absolutely love the Pursuit of Cobra quick kick.
Now he really is looking like Rambo. Like he's putting boots on him. Suddenly he's Rambo.
Right, Rambo. But his boots are cool because they're not really boots. They're like sneakers. They're like.
But Rambo doesn't wear boots either. He's also in like sneakers, if I recall. He's like
in the first movie.
Rambo,
in the first movie.
First Blood Part 2.
In the first movie.
No, in First Blood Part 2.
Wait, really?
He's dressed in black because he makes a nighttime jump.
Yes.
And he's not wearing boots. They're kind of.
Oh wow!
They're like lace up.
I'm completely misremembering this. That's wild.
Wow.
Although in the current picture that Paul's sharing with us,
a lot of money.
Here, I don't know, his kind of like Dogi or whatever it's called reminds me of the Karate Kid.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Rob. That's exactly what I wanted to mention. This the Pursuit of Cobra Toys R Us exclusive quick kick, which I was very lucky at the time. I had a toy dealer who could easily get me one at retail price, not at some exorbitant scalper price. So thank you very much, Yojo SA. Goodbye. Sadly, you don't exist anymore. But check that out. So on this figure, he's got claw marks on his left breast and across his abs, which is a great homage to Bruce Lee in Dragon.
Yes, I was about to say, they've really gone in with the Bruce Lee influences on this one.
Also, he comes with these great fighting gloves. These like padded gloves, which, I know at the time, MMA and stuff like that was starting to gain in popularity. And so these kind of open-fingered padded gloves were, kind of popular. But you know who also made those gloves very popular? Is Bruce Lee. I think it's also in Into the Dragon. He wears a pair of those for the one sparring match. I think it's Into the Dragon that it happens in the beginning, or is it Fist of Fury? One of the two, but he's in a sparring fight. He wears those gloves.
Into the Dragon, he's got the gloves when he's...
Yes, there we go.
At his sort of home dojo.
Yes. Well, he's got... Yeah, I remember him having them. And
the moon. You will miss all that heavenly glory. That's
and then the nunchaka, which are great. They're also colored in Into the Dragon tracksuit color.
But he still comes with a katana. Oh my!
He still comes with that damned katana.
25 years later.
But whatever. And then as Rob pointed out, and I love this, his doggy.
Wow, really? Is it Dogi? I just wow.
It is doggy. Yeah, gi is like a super shortened word of saying it, but it is a doggy. It is in the colors of none other than Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, and even the fist logo on the right breast looks like the Cobra Kai symbol, but with the fist instead of the snake. Super cool, like Easter eggs on this toy. Really love this figure. If you guys have got one, give it a hug. If you haven't got one, give it a search. I think it's definitely going to enhance your toy collection. And yeah, he also comes with firearm for a change, which is a Mac 10. Well, yeah, it is a Mac 10-ish.
Suppressed. Nice.
Ooh.
The gun of the 80s, my friends.
Certainly not depressed. Fantastic figure. But also the original is absolutely amazing. I'm forever grateful.
I struggle with, and maybe you guys can help me and the viewers and listeners with this. What is a great vehicle for Quick Kick?
He doesn't need a vehicle. His vehicle is his feet.
I walk everywhere. I walk.
The Silver Mirage is your vehicle de jure of all martial artists in GI Joe, I think. Something about a ninja and a bike.
Well, he does slam one into a bunch of Pajama-Rama Ninja Bama Whamma Bammers in Cobra Quake. So, I mean, there is precedent for him using a Silver Mirage.
I liked his introduction in Action Force, hang gliding. I think that's a great way to get around. Just pop him on a GI Joe hang glider, he can go anywhere. It's silent, he can infiltrate, no one knows he's there. Another great vehicle is climbing gear. Use a rope, like we see him using Bad Luck Lady, get him up on a roof. You know, that's also another fantastic.
Speaking of, why haven't we shown pictures of his appearances in Bad Luck Lady? He was so great in that.
I'll get it in post.
We certainly discussed it at length earlier in this fantastic episode. We definitely did.
For my part, guys, I'd just like to say that.
What do you think about this figure?
Well, the figure itself, perfect. I love the fact that he's barefoot because it's so unique.
Yeah.
Here's some pictures of Bad Luck Lady. Delight.
Oops. Going slowly. Whoa, okay, ignore that.
Yeah, I've always had a fondness for the impromptu meeting between Quick Kick and Bazooka just on the streets of Hong Kong. This is actually just downstairs from the accommodation Kim and I had. Nice, I think it's called Temple Avenue.
So a real table too.
That's the bottom of a McDonald's coffee cup. Anyway, the point I wanted to make about Quick Kick was I think the figure's perfection. I mean, once again, I'd like to come back to my thesis that this is G.I. Joe's foray into superhero-dom. He don't need no shoes. He's a super soldier. His feet are tough, whatever. But I will say that Quick Kick probably gave early customizers a heartbreak because your first topless, like naked torso, but you're married to the damn sash.
Yeah. You can't
like
get
the
away
first
from
bare torso that had nothing adorning it was Road Pigs, and that's only usable for the biggest of meat bags. Whereas Quick Kick, sure, he's jacked, but he's still, fitting a sort of a more proportionate size for, just a really jacked dude, like a Rambo-style dude. But you're always going to have that sash. So it's a bit of a heartbreak, to be honest, that it wasn't a separate piece. But hey, the year was 1985, and that wasn't the done thing to have costume elements that were removable yet.
Yeah, but yeah, agreed.
It's a 5 out of 5 figure for me.
From me
Oh, you definitely.
Absolutely amazing. I'll be forever grateful that I was gifted this incredible figure. I'm so glad we featured in Bad Luck Lady. I'm hoping to feature it in stories of my own in the future. Simple, very few accessories, just a backpack, his nunchucks. He doesn't need all that. He's the best martial artist out there at least 6 forms of martial arts. Absolutely amazing and very unique. I think that's also what makes him stand out, is he's one of the more unique looking characters, and not just because they kind of aped his look from Bruce Lee, but he's cool. Absolutely incredible. 5 out of 5.
When are we going to pick a
I-
loser? Yes, we
Yeah.
mentioned that a thanks are due. I suppose let's thank Greg and Andrew for my quick kick and Rob's quick kick. Yeah, you guys are the
you very
best.
much.
This is a figure that, like, I guess in our narrow-mindedness, Rob and I never would have wanted to own necessarily. Until
It's
someone
weird because
put it in our
we
hands.
love the ninja stuff, but it needed someone else to give it to us, which is absolutely wild. I still find that insane, but so grateful that we all have
Rolls
him,
and
and that we were
fudges.
able to talk about him in episode 332 of GI Joburg.
So,
Brought to you.
Wow.
To reiterate, Paul, if
Yeah.
you have a quick kick to hand, give him a hug.
Yes,
He's a great
do
give
it.
your quick kick a
Oh,
hug. Just watch out. He's a bit fighty,
And thanks as always to our patrons. Yo, Joe, guys. This was awesome. I love doing these.
Rolls and fudges.
These are the best. Like I
And
mean,
also-
I love talking live to people. I love having a live audience. But it's nice that we get to do this as well. We kind of just do a deep dive focus on a character
Focus on it.
or a vehicle and just have great fun with it. And
Toys.
long may these last. I
Toys
think
are
great
awesome.
fun.
I really
Hi.
want the classified version now.
Oh,
You please get it, Paul. We need to know what you think about it.
yo, Joe.
Berg.